Hello, everybody. This is Mike Leahy. Thanks for joining today. We appreciate your interest in our software. We're going to discuss our Pulse real-time dashboard and reporting software today. This is my picture in the upper right, and we can all shake hands over the phone. This is a picture of some of our team members in our conference room in Cincinnati. And just a little bit of background, we've been in business for a long time. We have had and developed Macola expertise over a very long period of time. We specialize in working with manufacturers and distributors. And what really brings us together today is our core competency of extracting data out of your Macola database to help you make better and faster decisions. Extracting data to help you make better and faster decisions. That's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. Oh, a housekeeping item or two. If you have any questions as we go along, please write those down, key those into the chat window or the question window, and then Ann Hayner is helping me today, and we will stop periodically and she will ask the questions and we'll get those answered. Then at the very end, we'll open it up for just overall questions and answers. So what can the Pulse dashboard software do for your company? Well, first of all, it's real time. And the idea is that it's showing you critical information and having that at your fingertips to make better and faster decisions. It's going to minimize the need for custom reports. No more crystal reports that you lose, or SSRS reports, or Excel queries. Basically, like somebody said to us, it just eliminates all the reports on your desk that get lost and are not timely. We have a huge emphasis within the software of shipping on time and pinpointing areas, whether it is finished good products or components or raw material items that are preventing you or potentially preventing you from shipping on time. And we'll take a look at that as we go along. We have several advanced concepts that are not in the standard software. For example, inventory turns, months of inventory on hand, and you'll see more of that as we go along. These are some things that people have, nice things people have said about our software. Pulse will save you so much time. You've thought of everything. I like that one. But this last one really pulls it all together. Pulse puts everything in one place, and you won't have to look for manually developed reports or spreadsheets or crystal reports, that are piling up on your desk. And you'll see that as we go along. The software consists of modules. The executive module is mandatory. It's sort of like the system manager. And then we have individual modules basically for every department: customer service, inventory, purchasing, financial control, sales and marketing, production. We've developed our own MRP module, but if you're using the Macola MRP module, we do interface with it as well. We have a purchase order generator that totally eliminates the need for manual keying of purchase orders. We have a designer module, which is for when there's a need to develop a custom report. And then we've also developed a demand planner software. So the people buy the majority of the modules, but if for some reason there's not a need at the beginning, you can add that as time goes by. So this is the mantra of our dashboard software, that Macola has the data, but Pulse brings you the information. In other words, Macola has the raw data, and what our Pulse dashboard software is doing is converting that raw data into information for making better and faster decisions. Okay, so let's take a look at the software right now. And this is the software. This is the executive module. I mentioned before there are different modules. This is the executive. This is financial control. This is customer service. This is sales and marketing. And I should mention in sales and marketing that we have developed our own budgeting, sales and marketing budgeting or forecasting, so that you have a budget versus actual. In Macola, as you know, there's no place to store a sales budget that you can compare to at, say, a unit level or sales dollars by customer. So we have an inventory module, the operations modules, which would be inventory, purchasing, production, little bit in customer service. Those are the real strengths of the software. Inventory module, purchasing module. Go back to the summary here. And you can see within each module there are tabs. So when I'm in the purchasing module, for example, I have a summary, I have a supplier scorecard, I have KPIs, and so on. Over time, you develop more and more tabs that might meet your individual needs. There's a production module, and we have our material requirements module that we've developed. Okay, so let's go back to the executive module, and let's go over a few fundamentals of what we have. And I'm going to use this screen right here, this customer order summary. This is showing you customer orders that have arrived for the month, for the year, for the same month last year, year to date, and the total prior year. So this is orders that have arrived. They may or may not have been shipped in this month, invoiced orders, and then your backlog of open orders. So the first thing you're seeing is that all of these can be moved around. They can be resized. They can be copy and pasted from one screen to another. But what's really important about this is that when I hover over a number, it turns into a hand. So what I can do then is I just click on that number and I drill down and I instantly see the underlying detail. I'm going to do that again. I'm just going to take this 629,000. I'm going to single click on it, and now I have the underlying detail. In this case, I've chosen a view that's by customer, and I can see my totals and I can see the margin and the margin percent. But if I just click on each customer above, down below, you're seeing all the items and their individual details that were ordered for each one. Now, I also can have a variety of reports. Maybe I have a report that I only look at once a month, or I only look at it a couple times a year. So I can, in other words, I can pre-store different views. I should mention everything is exportable to Excel. Every single screen in the system I can export to Excel. I can print, which means that I can also PDF it and email it to someone. But the real strength comes in the idea that you as a user can move things around and customize your own reports. So in other words, we've developed content. You need to know what the orders for the month, the details about that. But each user then has the ability to modify these screens. So let's say that on your screen, you want to have the customer state in here. So I'm going to go up to this, what we call the column choosers, this little grid. I'm going to click on here. And these are all the data fields in Macola that have anything to do with looking at orders. And you're seeing we've converted all of those fields to business English. If you're a technical person, you can hover over the field and see what the file name is and the field name. But in this case, I want the state. So I'm just going to type in state, S-T-A-T-E. And I'm going to just click on here. I'm going to double click. And now the customer state comes in here. And I'll move that over here. So what we have now is we've made a change to your profile. Nobody else sees the change. So in other words, each individual can customize these screens. And then when I come back to the screen the next time, that state will still be there. It remembers it. So in other words, there's no save function in dashboard. It recalls and remembers all these for you. So again, so if I look at another one on here, maybe I want to have, instead of by customer, maybe I want to have by item. So I'll click on that one. So now we have the hang of it. Every single report. Oh, and I should mention, this applies also to the graphs. So let's say that I hover over a field here, and then I want to single click and see the underlying detail for, I think I chose a day that didn't have any dollars in it. There. So I can even click into the graphs. Okay. So let's talk about the philosophy. We say the dashboard is content-based. It's rich on content. And I'll give you and I mentioned at the beginning that our emphasis is shipping on time, So let's go through a scenario and show you the philosophy of the software, and then we'll dig a little bit deeper. Let's imagine for a moment that it's 7:30 in the morning. Everyone has arrived. It's Monday morning. Everyone has arrived to work. We have a big shipping day today, and we send people out with pick tickets. And at about 7:30, they come back, and everyone's upset because they can't find the product, and they're disappointed. They can only partially fill certain orders. So at 7:30 in the morning, we cannot recover from that. In other words, we can't anticipate where the shortages are. So we developed this report here. This was developed by the operations manager at one of our customers. So let's go through this example. We're supposed to ship $97,000 today, but we really only have available to ship less than half of that, $37,000. We have back orders, we have shortages, we have orders that didn't get posted, but the idea is that at 7:30 in the morning, you can't recover from this. So the idea is that you're looking at this report in advance of this morning, and you're anticipating and maybe acting on, well, why can we not ship everything that we have promised to our customers? So if we look in customer service, that's the first part, and we look at customer orders that have shortages. And what we do is you look at, I want to look 5 days. In other words, I want to see, I'm the customer service manager, can I make it through Friday? What are my shortages? In this case, I have 21 finished good items. Let's not worry about components or raw materials. We're going to look at those in a minute. These are finished good items where our customer service people have promised these orders, and we're not going to make it. So let's drill down into each one. You know that everything has drill down. So what green is good, red's bad. So in this case, we have 3 orders that will go out on time. We have about 15 orders that are not going to go out on time. We have replenishments down here. You can see this is sorted in this demand replenishment sequence, but we have replenishments that are scheduled into the future, and they're not going to help us with these 15 orders up here. So let's take a look at another product. Let's take a look at this belt. Okay, here's a situation where we have customer demand, but again, we have replenishment coming in, but it's coming in too late. So the idea is with this is that you're going to work through these numbers. So you have a couple options. You can call the customer and say, I'm sorry, or you can call purchasing if it's a purchased item for resale, or you can lean on the production people. But the idea is that you as the customer service manager, maybe by Wednesday, you have determined what you're going to do. At that point, now you're going to go and you're going to go 15 days or 10 days. You're going to look further into the future. And I mentioned earlier that we've developed our own MRP software. Well, what you saw just then was a full MRP regen that took 1 second. So now I have 29 items. In other words, I have more items that I need to deal with. Again, I can drill down, see the detail, determine what I want to do, call the customer, or so on. So this is the customer service module, finished good shortages. So let's jump over to production. Now remember, we're talking about the story of the philosophy of our software, that we have a great emphasis on shipping on time, which means that you need to manufacture on time without any shortages, have the product ready, and then ship it on time to the customer. So here's the situation. These are components, and the story is the same. It's Monday morning. Let's look out 5 days and determine these 37 items are preventing us from manufacturing on time and thus probably shipping on time. So let's take a look. We're going to drill down. Same kind of story we have. This probably wasn't a good one here. Okay, here's a better one. We have a replenishment coming in. We have replenishments coming in, but it was coming in an insufficient quantity, so immediately we're short again. We have another replenishment. We immediately go short, and so on. So each one of these has its own story. Let's take a look at this frame here. Each one has its own story. So the idea, again, is that the the job of production then is to eliminate this and then reduce the 37 items. If we go back to the executive module, we also have, in the spirit of shipping on time, here is the on-time shipping graph. And what this is designed to do, you can have different colors, you could have your corporate colors, but the idea is we're looking at month by month, and we could look at day by day, and we're looking at orders that shipped out on time, were 1 day late, 2 to 5 days late, and greater than 5 days. Now, all of our software has a setup icon, and you might say, well, 2 to 5 days, that's not very meaningful to me. But I want to show you have the flexibility to adjust it to whatever date of range. You could make it 1 to 1 week, greater than 1 week, 2 to 3 weeks. You can make these your corporate colors, but the idea is that we're giving you a graph that instantly shows you either by day or by month your on-time shipping. So you may say, well, I don't have a problem with all of my products shipping on time. I really have I have a problem just with some of them. So let's take a look here at what we're doing with this graph as we analyze. So let's take a look at, we're going to analyze our key customers. And Cincinnati Distributors is a key customer. So I now am looking at my on-time shipping. I'll bring this up here. We're looking at our on-time shipping performance just for Cincinnati Distributors. I think that got caught behind, yep, got caught behind another graph, another report. Okay, so you may say, well, no, I want to look at it by product category. So let's take a look at what's happening. Our imported products are real hot right now. So let's go down and let's take a look at our on-time shipping just for our, and you can see what it's doing now. It's refreshing the screen. We looked at this screen back here, customer order summary. You're a little familiar with that. Here's this customer orders. You know, these are things that we've seen before. Because if you recall, when I right-click on here, I can copy and paste this report to any place that I want to. So here's it, just to make this an example. I'm looking at imported products, and now I can see that my on-time shipping, this is pretty erratic. You know, 1 month it's great, the other month it's terrible, but this is what's available. Maybe you want to look at it by salesperson. Maybe you want to look at it by customer territory. But this filter panel that we have up here, I can make this anything I want to. In this case here, I've chosen to look at it by customer, by product category, by salesperson. We're very, very driven by customer suggestions. So here is a report that a customer kind of suggested or gave to us, again, by copy and pasting. So they took this customer order summary, they took an analysis, sales analysis that allows me to look at month to date, how am I doing versus the same month last year, and then year to date. I have accounts receivable information. And then we have, this is a little bit fanciness that we've developed. This is what we call our advanced screen designer. So in my case here, what I'm doing is this is sales by product category. Remember, we're part of our management overview. And I'm saying, okay, here's my regular products, my imported products, and I want to be able to look at what's my trend for that. So I just click on each one, and then you can see this, the two reports are glued to one another. They're like joined at the hip. So all I do is I click on any number, and I can see what my performance looks like for that product category. And you'll see we use this concept of the advanced screen designer in other places to link different screens together. We also have, and I'm on a category of features that are not in the standard Macola software. This is detailed accounts receivable aging, and we've incorporated customer notes, customer collection notes. So 3 or 4 years ago, we got together several customers, and we had a focus group, and we talked about, well, what do we want to do? We want to have a collection notes at the customer level, and we want to have collection notes at the apply to, at the customer or order level, invoice level. And then so there's a follow-up date. I'll go back to our, so if I go into the collection notes, I can timestamp that. I can put in a follow-up date. I can put in a priority. But this is a feature that customers really, really like. In my case, I'm using this for collections. And then as I'm talking to customers, then I can put in notes, maybe what they required or requested another copy of the invoice, whatever it might be. So this is the category of, we've taken standard information out of Macola. We've added feature functionality that doesn't exist in standard Macola, which is the collection notes, either at the customer level or at the apply to level. We also have a nice feature here. We call this GL analysis, and this is just make believe that these freight accounts, I'm having a problem with freight, or I'm having a problem with overtime labor. So I want to monitor those constantly. So I've chosen these accounts, and then, as you would imagine, I can drill down and see the underlying details. So now we're at the lowest level in the general ledger, and we're able to look at individual charges that are going on for whatever we have. Okay, enough with the executive module. In the financial control module, we have developed what we call a smart cash flow forecast. And the reason that I'm calling it the smart cash flow forecast is typically on a cash flow forecast, this accounts receivable number would be tied to invoice due dates. But we all know customers don't pay based on invoice due dates. They pay based on their history. So instead of using the due date, we are aging based on average days to pay for each individual customer. And as you can imagine, you can drill down and see the underlying detail. But what also makes this unique is that we can add additional non-Macola cash flow items. We can add, in this case, this example, ADP payroll, wire transfers for loan payments, monthly profit distributions, and then, so this is then, we can look at it in 30-day increments, or we can look at it in 1-week increments. We have some more fanciness here in departmental expense reports. If you want to, a lot of times people, the department heads are more visual. Oops, I touched my screen, excuse me. They're visual and they want to see actual versus budget for their department in a graph, or they want to see numbers. And as you would imagine, you can drill down and see the underlying detail. So we have a variety of reports that allow you to do full financial analysis. We're not in the business of producing financial reports because there's several companies, including Macola, that do that naturally. But for financial analysis, that's what we have. If you're on standard costing, we have a lot of standard costing analysis. In the customer service module, we kind of talked about this a little bit. We have shortages. You can look at unshipped orders. You can look at invoiced orders. It's just allowing you to, as a customer service function, to be able to, here's another report. We always need a customer name and address. We always need to be able to look at customer item numbers or the price code file. But now things get more exciting as we get into sales and marketing and into the operations. I mentioned before that we have developed our own budgeting. And what this means is that if you have your budget in Excel, we can import it. If you prefer to start your budget from history, and then once that's imported or once it's created, make adjustments to it, we allow that. If you have seasonality and want to skew things by month or the season, we allow you to do that. You can have an unlimited number of budgets. And these are some of the budgets that we offer by customer, by salesperson, by item, by items within customer, by customer ship to locations, by items and location, or salesperson. Actually, this item and location is the budget that is for our MRP software. And what's exciting about this is that in this case, this is customer. I have budgeting by dollars by month, units by month, a average selling price or an average target price by month, or a margin budget by month. So once you have that, I'll go back to our main screen. And now this example here, this is sales by customer or sales by salesperson. I'm able to look at actual data. This is month-to-date invoice data versus month-to-date what was invoiced budgeting-wise. And what's exciting about this, in this sales and marketing module, we have developed about 300 formulas, and they're designed to be able to look at month-to-date, quarter-to-date, year-to-date, the same month last year, the same quarter last year, month-to-date this year versus month-to-date last year. So when we designed this with another customer, the idea was that there would be nothing that we could not track. So in other words, we want to track something by something. We want to track sales by customer, sales by a salesperson, sales by quarter, sales by whatever. And it can be dollars and it can be units. So these are just some examples that I've developed by salesperson, by customer. I'll slide down here, by product category, by territory, by customer type. We also offer a real fancy, not fancy, a real effective gross margin analysis. In this case, this is by product category. It could be by customer. It could be by item. And what we're doing is we're just looking at, do we have margin erosion? So I'm looking at my year-to-date, and then I can start looking at month by month. So the idea is that I can incorporate any of these reports. This is one of the reports that we'd looked at before that has this filter panel. So I've copied a report and put it in here along with the year-to-date scorecard, along with this margin analysis. I didn't mention before that we have a graph for margin analysis. And some people want to look at sales by month. I'll go ahead and refresh this. And the idea is that I now can have January, February, March, April, May. Again, sales by individual item. It could be by territory. It could be by customer. It could be by product category, whatever is appropriate. And just to prove a point, this is a unit sales reported in addition to the. And then this is something that we've designed. This is using our advanced screen designer again. I'm able to remember, I've taken these two reports and glued them together. So if I want to look at Cincinnati distributors, what did they buy? Florida distributors, what did they buy? It's just another way of looking at it. It's not, you don't have to drill down, analyze it, and then press escape to come back. You're seeing it all on the same screen. Inventory is where we really have a lot of analysis screens. So we talk about Pulse dashboard and reporting software being good to show you information, but also to gently guide you. And by guiding you and analyzing your operations, you can look at that through inventory turns. That's this graph here. You can look at it by obsolescence. In other words, this is saying I have 48 items that I haven't touched in 25 to 48 months. We also have an inventory up here. We have an inventory class generator. So if you're wanting to properly categorize your inventory according to APICS rules, according to general standard rules, this allows you to do that. We have a lot of inventory exceptions, items with no cost, with no product category, with no buyer planner. So this is kind of the overview. And then this is what we call the inventory detail view. This is designed, you're probably seeing that what we've done here is we've replaced all the reports in Macola, with the exception of posting reports. And we've replaced them with reports that are readable, that the user can modify, they can change them, and they focus in on what it is you're supposed to be focusing on. So in this particular case, I'm looking at a particular item. This is replacing the multiple level item view, which is a superb report, except that it was developed over 20 years ago. So I've talked before about months of inventory on hand. So let's take a look at what we have. In the white here, this is real time up to the second, what's on order, what's allocated, what's on hand, and so on. Then we have months of inventory on hand, not in Macola. Data last sale, not in Macola. All of these fields, not in Macola. Macola has year-to-date usage, but it doesn't do you any good in the beginning of the year. So we have a 12-month rolling usage as well. Then we also have the ability to historically look at what's happening for an item. I didn't pick a really good item here. Historically, so what we've done is we have a program that runs every night, takes 10 minutes, and it categorizes usage and other activity for each one of your inventory items over a 25-month time period. So you can go back and look and see, well, what were my turns over the past 12 months? What was my on-hand inventory usage? And then we have a single level MRP. So this is saying, I'll close this down here. This is saying, what do things look like into the future? And then if there was a bill of material for this, it would show, and then all items show where used. So this is very popular. What's also very popular is this inventory transactions. So this is reading the same file as Macola's inventory transactions, but this is a very compact report. Instead of being, say, five activities per page, this is 50 per page. So the idea being that I can look at, and again, in the business English, we can say that we can look at receipts, we can look at quantity adjustments, we can look at backflushed items, and it's just for this one item for this one time period. And as you know, you can export everything to Excel and then further manipulate it if you wanted to. The inventory status is where this is very, very popular. Everybody wants to take their inventory and shove it into Excel. But the moment you do that, it's obsolete. So this is the same thing, but real time. So I want to show you some of what we've added to this that allows you to better manage your inventory. Inventory turns, months of inventory on hand, 3, 6, and 12-month average usage or total usage, so you can see a trend. So if you're looking at increasing or buying, you can see what the trend is over the past 12 months. Date of last usage, date of last inventory activity, date of last purchase, date of last manufacturing, and date of last sale. So all this information is available to you. And then I just added some other things here, which was usage by month. So these fields that are in the cream color have turned out to be just tremendous winners. Let's say that you're a buyer and you've been asked to buy a part and you're a little skeptical. And so this allows you to see, well, I just bought it last month, or you can see here that I don't use any anymore. Maybe or my usage is steady, or my usage is decreasing. So this information is very, very helpful. We have a single level bill of material. And what's cool about this is, I'll show you some of the power of dashboard. When I move this field up above here, it groups it. It's grouping it by, in this case, by parent item number. So you can see I can hit the plus sign. But if I reverse these columns, I'll put this back down here, and I'll now bring the component up. I've taken this report now, and I now have a where used report. So I just simply flip-flop these columns. This is what we call grouping, just to move the field up here. So this is some of the power of the software. This is just a real simple reorder advice report that comes with the software. We're very, very big on cycle counting. I'll go into this report here. One of the things that we do in physical inventory and in cycle counting is to allow you to let me refresh this, allow you to see activity. Like, let's say that you have, this is my experience, everybody has 10 or 20 or 30 items that every single time they do a physical inventory, those items are problems. So if you knew what those items were, then what you can do is anticipate those and maybe pre-count them or double count them or triple count them. Now, what we're experiencing right now, the reason that took a little bit longer is that we have a feature built into the software that if I don't refresh something, if I come back and it hasn't been refreshed in an hour, 60 minutes, it goes back and then refreshes everything from scratch. In other words, we have the latest information. But the idea of this is that this report up here is giving me a real-time variance analysis, either a dollar analysis of variances or a quantity variance. So let's say that you're manually counting and you're feverishly keying them in. You'll be able to see your exceptions immediately. If you're using the WISA software, then it will be even more real time. But the idea is, my philosophy is, nobody goes home until we've all counted, and nobody goes home until we've done all of our recounts. So if Bill or Mary has a problem, before they go home, we are allowed to go back and maybe recount their area. But this report down here, I don't have good data for this, but this allows me to see all items over the past, say, several years where they've had maybe over 50%. In my case, I would put in over 90% variance. So I want to see all the items that I've counted over the past few years that have been over 90% variance. And those are the items that we want to anticipate and pre-count or double count. So we have a lot of reports in here. Another one is physical inventory items not counted. And this is just another report. So this is our new menu structure, where instead of having the information come directly here, you go from here to another menu. But this way you can put multiple items on a menu and not have to have a tab for each one. We have serial lot traceability. We have a serial lot status report. We're also doing some real fanciness here, and that is we have a program that will accurately recalculate your reorder levels, your order up to level, your safety stock, based on the rules of your company. So when you first put in a part number and you establish a reorder level, that's just based on somebody's estimate. So the idea is that, and behind the scenes here, we have SQL programming that says, okay, these are our rules for reorder levels. This is our rules for the order up to level, which would be the min and then the max and the safety stock. The other thing that we're doing is we're recalculating, and I should mention also, if for some reason this is giving you a new number that you don't like, you can override that. And we also recalculate purchase order lead times based on however many months you want to look at that. So this is something cool that we're doing. I mentioned earlier another one would be this inventory class generator. That's something else that's very popular. We're starting to investigate and have standard reports for things that are not going well in the software. And here we have bills of material where the parent item is not on file. And then we have another report, bills of material, where the component item is no longer in the item master. And you might say, well, how in the world can that happen? Well, it does. These down below, this last one, we have inventory items that have the wrong, they have a product category that doesn't exist anymore. Well, there aren't any exceptions. So the idea being that if I expand this, these are all the items where the parent item is not on file anymore. Maybe these were bills of material that were imported at one time, but nonetheless, if you are having problems in Macola where things stop or processing is erratic, a lot of times is due to just simple bad data. You know, a purchase order line record that has no purchase order header, a customer order that has no header, those kind of things. So we're in this data integrity. Here's the one for purchase orders. Purchase order records with no line records. Purchase orders with no headers. So these especially are just fatal to Macola cannot figure out what to do because it's expecting for every purchase order that there is at least one line record and one header record. Okay. We're going to talk about the purchasing module. Anne, are there any questions that need to be answered while we're moving along?
There's a question about what versions of Macola we support, Mike.
Oh, very good question. We support every single version of Macola that has existed for the past 25 years. In other words, every version of Macola Progression, Macola ES, and Macola 10 that is running on SQL, we support those.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions that have come up?
Not yet.
Okay. So we're in the purchasing module, and what's really important when you're using ERP software is everything is like, it's like a big dance. And what that means is that we start off with customer orders that have a realistic required ship date, that we have purchase orders that are scheduled to be received that have a reasonable request date or a promise date. So this is now the beginning of showing you, like let's say you put this on the receiving dock. I'll expand this report here, and you're able to now, the person who is on the receiving can now start managing. So let's say that we want to look at all receipts that are coming in for each vendor. And then what I'm going to do then is, let's say that ABC Fasteners for Dayton is showing up on the truck right now. This is what we're expecting from them. Or maybe Akron Supply is showing up, and we're able to see these are the open orders. So the idea being that we now have, but if we start looking at these dates, we start looking at really, really old dates, 2011, 2013. So what Dashboard, a byproduct of using Dashboard is it puts in your face old customer orders that never got invoiced, purchase orders that never got received, production orders that never got closed. And that's very, very important that, I'll give you an example here. We ordered 400,000 of these and 384,000 arrived. Now we all know that that remaining 16,000 is never going to arrive. But as far as Macola is concerned, it's still waiting and will wait forever, and we'll plan for that eventual 16,000 arriving when we all know it's never going to arrive. So this needs to be removed because it's showing that there's 16,000 on order when there really is not. So we have all kinds of reports. If I look here, again, this is using our advanced screen designer. I want to look at ABC Fastener. What do we buy from them? Let this refresh. So again, this goes, once it gets started, it goes very, very fast. This is by vendor, the same thing. All I did was that instead of putting vendor here, I put item, and now I can start looking at my purchases for those particular items. If the word purchasing spend is in your dictionary or in your CEO's dictionary, we have purchasing spend. And, oh, I meant to look and talk about our very popular purchase order generator. We are also in the business of helping you eliminate the drudgery, the tediousness of keying. So let's make believe that I'm Penny, and let's make believe I'm looking at the Cincinnati location. And rather than have a reorder advice report and then be manually keying in purchase orders feverishly, what this is doing is it's saying, based on your rules of your business, for me, I'm Penny, show me everything that I need to buy today. So let's click on one of these. These are all the items that need to be purchased. So what I can do is, and again, this 3 and 6 month usage and a lot of these factors can be put on here to help you guide and make sure you're ordering the right stuff. You can change any of this as you want, but when you're finished, then you just say create purchase order. And here is the purchase order. In other words, I can say save, and it will create either a released or an unreleased purchase order. Everything is modifiable. If I decide at the last moment I don't want to order this part, I can remove it. If I want to add another item, I can. If I want to change this, I even have the flexibility of taking this order, and instead of giving it to ABC Fasteners, I can place the order with somebody else. If you are weight restricted or weight conscious, and you get discounts based on weight or on volume, we also then calculate those down here. So again, I hit save button, I hit the save button, and it in this case gives pushes into Macola an unreleased purchase order. Then those orders would disappear, and then Penny then would go down to the next, do the same thing, and then as you're placing the orders, the items are disappearing, or they're not appearing on here. So this is very, very popular. Totally eliminates manual keying of purchase orders. Okay, in production, we've talked a little bit earlier about production causing shortages, items causing shortages. We have a production schedule. This is not designed to be a full-blown production scheduling module, for instance, what the link people have to offer. But the idea is that you can start seeing in what week things are due. This is a production schedule by item number. This is by order number. A lot of people like to have, they'd like to be able to see how things were made, my as produced report into the future. So this is showing me an after the fact exactly what components and their quantities and their costs were being used. So if we want to analyze, if I'm on average costing and I want to analyze the same item over and over again for a period of a year, this would allow me to see what it has been costing each time. This is a production order history. Just a lot of flexibility. This is production order showing components. This database that I'm on right now does not have shop floor, but we have extensive shop floor reporting to look at variances of hours. So the production people are responsible for hours and machine hours and labor hours. And then we have another one for the accounting department that is variances by dollar. So this is very strong. From an individual purchase order, or production order, you can see, or in this case shop order, you can see your plan versus actual dollars for labor, material, and overhead and outside operations and setup. And then you can see the bill of material, you can see the router, and for each router you can see the hours that were produced. And if there were machine hours associated with that, you can.
Mike, I've got another question here from someone, Mike.
Sure.
So there's a lot here. It's a lot to take in. Is there some easy way to get started with this on a limited basis for someone?
Well, there is. What we suggest is for people who are just starting off, maybe to have a buddy to work with. But we also offer to help get used to this, get used to using the software. We do offer all of our products on a 20-day trial, a 20-day no-cost trial. The software only takes an hour and a half to install, and it's up and going at that point. There's no 1 week or 1 month setup. So if this is appealing to someone and they want to, kind of drive it before they buy it, they can do that. We also offer the software on a subscription basis. So we have what we call a perpetual license, where you buy it, and then there's just that one-time purchase charge, and then you pay support each year. Or we have a monthly subscription cost, where you would just pay X dollars forever to use the software. One of the advantages of the subscription program is that you can cancel any time, and for the early months you can apply what you've paid towards a perpetual license. So all of our software runs on all versions of Macola, and we make it easy to make decisions to use the software for a while on a 20-day basis at no cost, and that includes training and includes support. And then for people that have the software, we provide unlimited phone support, and we help people with questions. Since we are experts in the software, it's very easy for us to say, okay, you want a report that does such and such, we'll go here and make these changes and add these columns and so on. So it works out very well. Was there more to the questions I didn't answer, Ann? Was that?
Oh no, you answered that. Thank you.
Okay. I don't have to go too deeply into the material requirements module, but we have developed our own MRP module that refreshes maybe in 5 or 10 seconds at most. It is a multi-location MRP where we can combine warehouse locations together or production facilities together, and then calculate requirements, gross requirements based on the demand and replenishment of both of those locations. But basically what the MRP module is doing is allowing us to start looking at just more and more granular information. So somebody will say, well, I want to look at MRP shortages, but I want to see the entire bill of material. We'll go down here, and this first one doesn't have I want to look at the full components, full list of components, ones that are available, ones that aren't available. And then down here what we have is the let me find something that has I can see, in this case, I've tied this to purchase orders, so I can see what my open purchase orders. So if I look at this bushing here, and so now I'm short on this bushing, but as a planner, I want to see, well, do I have these on hand? Or more importantly, I have them on hand. When are they scheduled to arrive? So this is just a lot of more reports that we have. Well, we said towards the end we would open up our session to open questions. So I know we covered an awful lot today. We do offer also more private demonstrations. So if you want to bring in your management team or your purchasing or production team and have a demonstration just for them, that would be great. We do that all the time. That way you can ask your own questions, talk shop, and have more interaction between each other. Well, Ann, are there anybody have any questions? Or Ann, are there?
I don't see any more in the chat window, Mike.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. If you have any other questions, you can feel free. I have our phone number on here and our link to our website, and appreciate your interest in our software. We hope to see you or hear back from you shortly. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.